Discover the inspiring, life-changing journey of Peterbilt, a heartwarming legacy revealed in the heart of a quaint small town in Illinois. At just 24 years old, Peterbilt Pete Larson felt the pulse of tradition and expectation beating through his veins. The familiarity of the grease-stained walls and the clatter of tools in his father's garage, Larson's son, shaped his childhood, each echo a reminder of hard work and integrity. But as sunlight streamed through the dusty windows, illuminating the faded photographs of his family's legacy, Pete knew he was a dreamer at heart, yearning for adventures beyond the borders of their tight-knit community. The looming reality hung over him like a storm cloud. The garage was struggling, and with it, the weight of his father's legacy. Then it came a local truck restoration competition, an unexpected beacon of hope. The winner would not only revive the floundering garage but also restore pride to the Larson name. In a town where neighbors were friends and community meant everything, this was Pete's moment. His heart raced with excitement, but doubts crept in. Competitors from wealthier backgrounds sneered at his humble beginnings, questioning his skills and ambitions. They shook their heads mockingly as he practiced, leaving a bitter taste in his mouth, nudging his insecurities to the forefront. Could he truly rise to the occasion and fulfill the dreams he held so tightly? As the competition drew closer, the townsfolk rallied around him, igniting an old-fashioned spirit of neighbor helping neighbor. Their support felt like a warm embrace, but it also sparked heated conversations among those who had grown comfortable with their ideas of success, a life spent chasing money and accolades. It was a clash of values, one that weighed heavily on Pete's heart. Could success be measured by a trophy or something deeper? An understanding of who you are and where you come from. Just as he began to find his rhythm, embracing the collective energy of the community, disaster struck. A critical mishap during his big moment loomed ahead, shutting down the roar of the crowd. Pete's heart dropped into his stomach. Everyone watched in anticipatory silence, as if the world had paused just for him. The crushing feeling of potential failure threatened to crush him. Guilt pangs clawing at him. Would he disappoint his father? What if this dream brought down everything they built together? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In the charged air of that moment, surrounded by the whispers of the onlookers and the pressure of expectations, Pete's eyes locked onto the faces in the crowd. Friends, neighbors, his father, each spirit intertwined with his own, unraveling old rivalries and uniting for a shared purpose. Here's where he realized. The heart of true success wasn't cloaked in status, but rather in the integrity he'd been raised with. The lessons of hard work echoing louder than any mocking laughter. This was bigger than a competition. It was about understanding his roots amidst the reckless chase for recognition. As the competition commenced, the weight of his dreams bore down on him. In the midst of chaos and uncertainty, would he rise above, embrace his humble origins, or would he allow the fear of others' judgment to extinguish his flame? Would he find a way to not just protect his father's legacy, but also redefine the meaning of success for himself and the entire community? The answer lingered in the air, pulsing with every heartbeat. The stakes were high, and the true essence of ambition was just a wrench. Turn away. The clatter of tools reverberated through the garage as Pete gripped the wrench in his hands. Sweat beaded on his forehead, and determination etched itself into the lines of his face. He inhaled deeply, the scent of metal and grease filling his lungs, grounding him. This was his home, his sanctuary, and he wouldn't let it slip away. With each turn of the wrench, memories flooded back. His father guiding his small hands, explaining the way engines worked, the pride in the old man's voice when he felt Pete grasp the concepts. Those lessons were embedded in his heart, pushing him forward now. The crowd had drifted away, leaving only the weight of expectation and the echo of dreams yet realized. He couldn't fail, not now. Moments bled into each other. People watched. Some hushed whispers echoed from the sidelines. Pete's fingers trembled slightly as he worked, the anxiety gnawing at the edges of his focus. But behind him, the supportive faces of friends and family lingered in his mind. They believed in him. Each nod of encouragement felt like a lifeline, reminding him that he was not alone. The old truck sat there, battered yet proud, a reflection of his journey. He rubbed a dirty cloth over the exposed engine, revealing the intricate mechanics hidden beneath years of neglect. This wasn't just about winning a trophy anymore. It was about breathing life back into something that mattered, something that could bring joy and hope to his community. Then, a sudden clanking sound jolted him out of his concentration. Panic rippled through his chest as he glanced at the array of tools scattered on the workbench. One vital piece was missing, an essential component he had tossed aside in haste. Heart racing, he tore through the clutter, searching desperately. It was the last thing he could afford to misplace. His hands shook as he rifled through tools, panic rapidly closing in. What did this mean? Did he have the skills to fix this? Would everyone see him as just another joke? For a moment, doubt crept in a lingering shadow of his competitor's derisive laughter. Then he caught sight of the photo pinned to the wall, his father's face beaming with pride, surrounded by friends. The image seeped into him, steadying his breath. With renewed focus, Pete searched again, peeling back layers of chaos until he found it, the part glinting in the afternoon light. He grinned, a surge of adrenaline coursing through him. This was the turning point. Every second mattered. He snapped the piece into place, tightening screws with feverish resolve. Each detail mattered here, both in the truck and in his life. As he reassembled the engine, the crowd around him began to murmur, the buzz of anticipation crackling in the air like static electricity. Finally, he stepped back, sweat clinging to his brow, hands dirty but spirit soaring. He turned the key in the ignition, heart thrumming wildly. The truck roared to life, a melodic boom that silenced the crowd. Faces lit up in astonishment and cheer, echoing his exhilaration. But the roar of the engine faded as he turned to look at his friends and family. Their excitement pulsed through the air, and for a moment, everything felt perfect. Yet deep down, he knew this was just one battle in a larger war. The competition was far from over. Would this moment be enough to elevate the garage and the family legacy, or just a fleeting spark in a race against time and cynicism? As he stood there, surrounded by a warmth that felt like home, the question teased at the corners of his mind: could he really transform his humble beginnings into something monumental? The heart of the town was intertwined with his success, and all he could do was push forward. There was more at stake, and as the crowd cheered, he could feel the weight of that truth. What would happen when the real challenges began to rear their heads in the wake of his momentary triumph? The roar of the engine echoed in Pete's chest, heart pounding in sync with the vibrating truck. Cheers erupted around him, a wave of joyful noise that seemed to fill the air with light. He took a moment to soak in the scene, the smiles, the laughter, the way his friends patted him on the back. Every handclap and shout of approval was a piece of the puzzle he had longed for. But as he surveyed the crowd, he caught a flicker of something deeper in their faces. Was it pride? Or was it fear that accompanied their joy? Perhaps they were all silently wondering if he could keep this momentum alive. Silence fell between the cheers, and Pete felt the shift of weight in the air, a reminder that this victory was just a stepping stone. He knew the real test lay ahead, as if reading his thoughts. Jenny, his childhood friend, stepped up beside him. She was a grounding force, someone who had seen him at his best and his worst. "You did it, Pete. I knew you could." Her excitement shimmered, but her eyes held a depth he couldn't quite decipher. "Thanks, Jen. But he hesitated, lowering his voice. "I can't shake the feeling that this is only the beginning. There's a lot on the line." She nodded, the smile fading a fraction. "Yeah, but you've done something incredible today. You brought that truck back to life. It's a step forward not just for you but for everyone here." Those words landed heavily. It wasn't just about him anymore. The garage stood proud, but it was a piece of a much larger struggle. His success was tied to the hopes of the town, the families who relied on this garage, the kids who passed by and dreamed of what could be. Could he transform this moment of triumph into something lasting? Before Pete could respond, a familiar voice broke through the crowd. Well, look who finally decided to play mechanic. It was Chuck, his chief rival. The crowd parted, revealing the man, arms crossed, adorned with a smirk that brushed the edges of mocking. I hope you're ready for the real competition. Pete, just because you got lucky today doesn't mean you'll win the big one. The energy shifted. People turned, the buzz falling to an almost electric hum. Doubt slithered back, a coil around his heart. Chuck was right. What if this was the only moment he could muster? Stepping forward, Pete squared his shoulders. Luck has nothing to do with it, Chuck. Today was about hard work and belief. If you think this is it, you don't know me at all. Chuck raised an eyebrow, chuckle dying on his lips. We'll see. It's a long road ahead, and I'm not going to let you have it easy. As Chuck turned and walked away, Pete felt the crowd's support glimmer behind him once more. Yet he couldn't shake the gnawing pressure that had crept back into his chest. Could he face the challenges ahead? Was hard work enough to overcome someone as cutthroat as Chuck? Jenny's hand landed gently on his arm, pulling his focus. Don't let him get inside your head. You have what it takes. This is your shot, Pete. Don't let anyone, even Chuck, take that away. Her words anchored him, rippling through his doubts like a calming wave. He had to believe it. The day was a launchpad, but the journey to follow could either build a legacy or tear it down. Determined, Pete met her gaze. He felt the fire reignite. This was not just about winning anymore. It was about creating something that would last. As the sun dipped lower, casting golden hues over the garage, he whispered the promise to himself. He would face whatever came his way. The road ahead was unknown, but the time for second-guessing was over. Could he truly transform his journey into a legacy? He had to try. What he didn't know yet was how monumental that journey would be, or what sacrifices would be required to ensure the community he held dear would rise alongside him. But one thing was certain: this was only the beginning. What challenges awaited him on the darker paths ahead? The tension buzzed like a live wire in the air, and Pete could hardly breathe as he took in Jenny's encouraging words. He felt anchored by her belief, grounding him against the looming storm. With each cheer from the crowd, he soaked in their energy, their joys, but also their doubts. It weighed heavily on his heart. Let us get to work, he said, voice steadying as he gestured toward the garage. The crowd still rallied behind him, their cheers lifting him as he headed back inside. The wooden doors creaked, opening to a world that felt both familiar and foreign now. Inside, the scent of oil and metal danced with the fading light, mingling with the anticipation of tomorrow. Jenny followed him in, her presence a comforting reminder that he wasn't alone in this. You really think you can take him on? She asked, her curiosity mingling with concern. No, I know I can, Pete replied, determination slicing through the remnants of doubt. It won't be easy, but that's the point, right? I've got to show everyone what this garage can really do. We all deserve that. He tossed his toolbox onto the workbench, the noise reverberating in the silence between them. It was time to strategize, to plot the course of action that would shape the months to come. We need a plan. Chuck's gonna come at us hard, and I need to be ready. What are you thinking? Jenny asked, leaning over the counter brimming with old gears and unused parts. Her eyes sparkling with ideas. Pete paused, tapping the side of his head as concepts started swirling. Let us start by tuning up the fleet. We need everything running smoothly. Then we can showcase the preventive maintenance program for families, show them we're about more than just repairs. Jenny nodded, fire igniting between them. And we can host a community event, put the garage on everyone's radar again. Make it a fun day: food trucks, races for the kids, a little car show. Exactly. The thought raced through him, filling him with an energy he hadn't felt just hours before. Let us make it a celebration of what we can accomplish together. As they brainstormed, laughter bubbled between them, weaving through the fear and pressure that had settled in Pete's chest. Each laugh ignited a spark of hope. They paced the floor, plotting and planning until the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the garage in a warm orange glow that felt like possibility. When they finally stepped out again, the world beyond was dark, yet his heart was alight with purpose. It had turned from fear to challenge, transforming into a tangible goal he could almost touch. The garage hummed like a living entity, and he could feel the spirit of the past echoing through its walls. But just as that spark began to grow, a shadow flickered across his thoughts. What if it wasn't he enough? The reality of Chuck loomed large, ruthless, and cagey, the very embodiment of challenges Pete had yet to face. The night air felt heavy with unanswered questions, and as he lay in bed later, he found himself staring at the ceiling, heart racing. What if they put everything on the line only to fall short? What if he let down everyone who believed in him? That doubt cast a pall over the hopeful visions of what was to come. But deep down, another voice stirred, one that whispered promises of resilience and strength, of a community worth fighting for. Tomorrow, he said softly into the darkness. Tomorrow we start paving the way. He turned over, wrestling with the weight of both dreams and fears, struggling to find peace amidst the swirling thoughts. Would they rise up in united strength? Or would Chuck's fierce ambition crush his hopes? What would the journey reveal as they set their hearts on this path? Could they truly come together to build something that could weather the toughest storms? Tomorrow would bring a coming together, or it could mark the beginning of the fight of his life. Morning light spilled through the garage windows, awakening Pete with a sense of urgency. He rubbed the sleep from his eyes and glanced at the clock. Time was slipping away, but today felt different, poised with an energy that had been dormant for too long. He jumped out of bed and pulled on a clean work shirt, the fabric still carrying a hint of yesterday's grease and hope. Thoughts of the plan he and Jenny mapped out danced in his mind like a catchy tune that's hard to forget. As he entered the garage, he saw Jenny already there, adjusting the tools on the workbench, her face bright with determination. "Morning, superstar," she called out, her enthusiasm infectious. "Hey, ready to change the game?" Pete replied, a smile breaking across his face. They dove right into the tasks at hand, bouncing ideas off each other, poring over each vehicle. The garage, a sanctuary of creativity and grit, transformed into a think tank. Each car became an opportunity, every tool a catalyst for hope. "Let us start with that old red pickup," Jenny suggested, pointing to a truck huddled in the corner. "It needs a serious overhaul." Pete walked over, his fingers tracing the truck's rusty hood. "This beauty still has a lot of life left in it," he noted, envisioning the little things they could do to breathe new life into it. "Let us give it a new paint job, maybe bring back that cherry red? It'll catch everyone's eye for the event." As they worked, they shared stories, small victories, failures, dreams. Pete found himself laughing, the burden of doubt lifting, replaced with a steady rhythm of progress. The sound of wrenches clinking and the humming of drills filled the space, a symphony of teamwork. Hours flew by until their stomachs grumbled in protest. "All right, we need a break. How about we grab some lunch?" Jenny suggested, wiping her brow. "Definitely," he agreed, gratitude swelling in his chest. "You're the best partner I could ask for." As they stepped outside into the warm sun, the neighborhood felt alive. Kids were riding bicycles. Laughter echoed from nearby yards. This was the community, the very essence of what they were fighting for. "Look at them. They're counting on us," Jenny said, capturing the moment. For a second, dread flickered in Pete's chest. What if they failed to deliver? He brushed it away, forcing a smile. "We're going to give them something they can be proud of. We'll turn this place into a hub of happiness again." Their enthusiasm was contagious, and as they ate, they began to brainstorm more ideas. Races for the kids, a car restoration contest, workshops for families to learn about maintenance. Every idea built hope, brick by brick, weaving a tapestry of community involvement and connection. But as the day wore on, another shadow crossed Pete's mind. Chuck's reputation loomed just as large as the ambitions they were nurturing. The nostalgia of old battles left scars, harsh reminders of previous failures. Would Chuck let them rise? Or would he come crashing down like a wrecking ball? Just then, Pete's phone buzzed. He looked down, the screen lighting up with a message. Hey, just got wind about Chuck throwing a wrench in the works. Any idea what he's planning? Looks like the storm is brewing sooner than expected. He murmured, heart sinking but determination rising. Then let us prep ourselves to weather it, Jenny declared, resolute. It's not just about winning. It's about standing firm together. Yeah. Pete breathed, a sense of exhilaration infusing him. We're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for everyone out there. We need to show them what this garage represents. With renewed focus, they returned to the garage, the air thick with purpose. But in the back of Pete's mind, another thought nestled uncomfortably. What if this wasn't just a test for the garage but for who they were as people? Could they ever fully win against Chuck? The fading light cast long shadows across the workbench as they tightened the last bolts. Tomorrow was approaching quickly, and with it, the storm. How prepared would they really be to face anything that threatened to tear them apart, or worse, diminish their resolve? The threat loomed closer and felt more tangible than ever. Would they find the strength to rise up against it, or would their dreams crumble before them? Tomorrow, everything would change. The sun peeked through the windows the next morning, wrapping the garage in a warm embrace. Pete awoke with a sense of urgency, but this time it felt different. Today was the day. He threw back the covers and inhaled the scent of fresh paint lingering from yesterday's work. As he slipped on his work boots, he felt the weight of their mission ahead pressing down on him, but also a surge of excitement. He knew that today would define not just the garage, but all they had worked for. Stepping into the garage, he found Jenny hunched over the pickup, her focus unwavering. "Morning, partner," he called, taking in the sight of her determination. She looked up, a smile breaking across her face. "Ready to make some magic?" "Always," he replied, heart racing at the thought of what lay ahead. They had a schedule to keep, and the relationship with the community was at stake. As they rallied around the pickup, the energy buzzed between them. They worked quickly, each movement deliberate, each word building into the rhythm of their collaboration. "Let us tackle that engine next. If it purrs like a kitten, people will take notice," Jenny suggested, her enthusiasm brightening the room. Pete nodded, adrenaline surging through him. As they tore through the mechanical heart of the truck, they shared anecdotes about the old races in town, the smell of popcorn from stands, and the atmosphere alive with laughter. Each story beckoned a stronger sense of purpose, urging them on. But even as laughter filled the air, something gnawed at him. The message about Chuck had seeped into his thoughts, spreading shadows through his determination. Would today be marred by Chuck's interference? Tugged on Pete's gut, but he shoved it away. "Hey, remember that time we painted the golf cart for the fair?" Jenny's voice broke through his cloud of worries, pulling him back to her side. "Of course. We made it the brightest thing there. Everyone was laughing." "Exactly," she smirked. "If we can do that, we can make this truck shine even brighter." A warm bell rang in Pete's chest. If they could change perceptions in their little ways, they could outshine anything Chuck tried to throw at them. Their laughter rang out again, filling the garage a sanctuary that felt more like home every passing minute. With the engine reassembled, they turned their attention to the exterior. The truck was beginning to take shape, but every brush stroke for the paint brought forward an image of what it could mean for the community. "This isn't just about the car," Pete said, suddenly serious. "This is about giving everyone hope again." They were drawing closer to the finish line when the phone buzzed on the workbench, breaking the rhythm. Pete picked it up, glancing at the notification. "It's Charlie. Apparently, Chuck's already stirring the pot." "What does he want?" Jenny asked, her brow creased. "Not sure, but it isn't good," he said, feeling a knot tighten. They exchanged glances, and the previous warmth momentarily chilled. "We can't let him pull us down," Jenny affirmed, eyes fierce. "Right. We need to start figuring out how to counter whatever he's planning. No more waiting, it's time to take action." "Agreed." The fire ignited between them, a steely resolve strengthening. They hurriedly set to work on their plans and drawings scattered around the garage. As the day wore on, possibilities filled the air, But so did the uncertainty. What shocking twist would Chuck pull next? Would it be enough to sway the town and crush their spirits? Just as shadows grew longer, another text pinged Pete's phone. Eagerly, he picked it up, but his heart sank at the message. "I hear Chuck S. making a move tonight. Be ready." Panic washed over him. They weren't just fighting for a truck. They were standing on the brink of something much bigger. Would they manage to build a community strong enough to withstand Chuck's storm? Or would they all come crumbling down? Tonight would be defining. Would they rise to the occasion or watch everything they built slip from their hands? The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting dramatic shadows across the garage as Pete and Jenny scrambled to put their plan in action. A sense of urgency filled the air, electrifying their movements. They worked fiercely, hearts thumping in sync with the ticking clock. "What are we even up against?" Jenny asked, biting her lip as she rifled through the sketches they had made earlier. "Chuck S. not just gonna roll over, right? He's got something up his sleeve. No one knows his tricks better than us," Pete replied, determination lacing his voice. "He thrives on chaos. We just need to be ready for him." The words felt incomplete, teetering on the edge of hope and doubt. They knew how Chuck worked. He was a master of manipulation, someone who could twist the truth until it became unrecognizable. "Let us focus on what we can do," Pete said, stepping closer to Jenny. "We have people who believe in us. This isn't just about Chuck. It's about the whole town. We can show them what can happen when we stand together, right?" Jenny's eyes sparkled with a renewed fire. "We need to rally everyone. We can set up a community event, showcase the pickup, and promote unity. What if we tie it to the local fair? We have an established audience there," Pete suggested, the gears in his mind whirring into overdrive. "Something to remind everyone of the good in our town. Let us call it Rev Up Hope." She grinned, her enthusiasm contagious. "Food trucks, music, a little competition. We can even have a best truck contest." "Exactly," Pete agreed, visualizing the scene in vibrant colors. "Invite the neighbors, get their kids involved. We can make it the talk of the town." The air buzzed with excitement as they tossed ideas around. By the time they had maps and outlines strewn across the workbench, laughter and creativity stitched a vivid tapestry of hope. But just then, a sharp knock at the door jolted them from their planning. They exchanged worried glances. "Who could that be?" Jenny whispered. "I don't know, but stay alert." Pete's heart raced as he approached the door, swinging it open. Charlie stood there, breathless, worry etched on his face. "You both need to come quick. Chuck's got some people stirring trouble downtown." "What kind of trouble?" Jenny demanded. "A group starting a petition against your garage refurbishing project. They claim it's a waste of community resources. They're spreading rumors that it'll bring in outsiders and ruin our local charm." "Of course, Chuck is behind this," Pete muttered, fists clenching. "He's manipulating people just like always." "No way we're letting him win," Jenny said, her voice steady. "We'll set the record straight. We need to handle this now," Pete urged, adrenaline surging. "If we don't confront it head-on, it could spiral out of control." Together, they hurried into the fading daylight, Charlie leading the way. The streets felt alive with whispers, tension thick in the air as they approached the gathering crowd. Pete could feel his heart pounding, each beat echoing with uncertainty. "Here goes nothing," he murmured under his breath. They reached the edge of the throng. Faces turned away from a sunset painted vibrant hues of orange and pink as they pushed through. The murmuring grew louder. People were unsure, voices trembling with anger and doubt. But one voice cut through the cacophony, a familiar, grounded timbre. "Listen up, everyone. This isn't what we want for our town." Pete turned, eyes widening. It was Mrs. Hamilton, their neighbor and a keeper of the town's heart. "Let us take a step back before jumping to conclusions. Let's ask ourselves, is this truly what we stand for?" Hope blossomed in Pete's chest, swelling and lifting, but fear loomed in the shadows. The moment could sway either way. Would more people step forward like Mrs. Hamilton? Or would doubt drown them out? "Stay by me," he whispered to Jenny as they maneuvered closer to the crowd. "Let us make our voices heard." The breath of the crowd fluttered with uncertainty, waiting for what came next. Would they listen? Would they stand together, or would Chuck's shadow overwhelm them? As the murmurings continued, Pete felt the weight of the world settle on those moments. It was time to fight for what they believed in, to salvage their community's spirit. But would they muster the courage to reclaim their future, or would fear silence them once again? Mrs. Hamilton held her ground, her voice unwavering as she called for calm. This is our community. It's not about one person's vision or one truck. It's about all of us finding a way to stand together. Gradually, the noise softened. Heads began to turn and people leaned in, craving connection. Pete could feel the charged energy in the air. It was as if they were all holding their breaths, waiting for a spark to ignite. Taking advantage of the moment, Pete stepped forward. He could see familiar faces, neighbors he'd grown up with, people who shared potlucks, birthday parties, even the struggles of the past year. It was time to remind them of their strength. Everyone, he raised his voice, heart racing. We know Chuck. He's tried to tear us apart before. But together, we can show him we won't let fear dictate our town. The garage project isn't just about a truck. It's about bringing us together, healing the fractures, and restoring hope. Murmurs passed through the crowd. Surprised glances exchanged, people weighing their options, their emotions shifting from doubt to the hint of solidarity. Jenny joined him, her passion illuminating her words. We invite everyone to contribute ideas, to share what they want to see. If we come together at Rev Up Hope, we can showcase the talent and spirit of this community. Let us remind ourselves who we are. The tension slowly dissipated. A ripple of murmurs turned into nods of agreement. It was a small victory, but it fueled their resolve. But just as hope began to bloom, a figure stepped out of the crowd, a man with a hard face and a chip on his shoulder. It was Chuck's right-hand man, Tony. What's this nonsense? He scoffed, arms crossed. You think shiny trucks and fairy tale events are gonna fix what's broken? People want practical solutions, not distractions. The reaction from the crowd was palpable. Some shifted uneasily. Others clenched their jaws in tight-lipped concern, their loyalty wavering. Chuck and his crew won't stop at just a petition, Charlie warned. This could escalate fast. We need to prepare for the fight ahead. Pete's heart sank as the stakes settled in. There they stood, on the precipice of something much bigger than a truck movement. It was about the very future of their community. Would they fall back or push harder? The sun dipped behind the buildings, casting long shadows that mirrored the unease in their hearts. Each of them had a part to play, a choice to make. Listen, Pete's voice cut through the night. If we want to keep our town alive, we have to stand for what we believe in. Starts here with each of us. But doubt still lingered in the air. Would they step up to fight, or would they retreat into the comfort of silence, letting Chuck dominate their future? A ripple of voices whispered through the crowd, questions bubbling to the surface. Would they gain courage from each other? Or would fear overcome their will to unite? The feeling of the moment teetered on the edge of something profound. And there, amidst the sunset glow and tensions boiling just below a flimsy surface, the question lingered. What would be the catalyst for transformation in their town? Are you with us? Pete demanded, eyes scanning the crowd for signs of hope. As he held his breath, waiting for the answer, time hung suspended, the fate of a community teetering on the edge of a decision. Would they rise together, or would fear keep them shackled in darkness? The answer seemed just out of reach, but one thing was certain. There was no turning back now. Time stretched like taffy, each second feeling like an eternity as Pete searched the faces around him. He was met with a kaleidoscope of emotions: hope, fear, anger, and determination flickering like the fading sunlight. Then a hand shot up. It belonged to Sarah, a local artist known for her colorful murals that adorned many of the town's walls. Her voice was steady, yet gentle. I'm with you, Pete. We can't let Chuck destroy what we've built together. Her declaration caused a chain reaction. One by one, familiar faces began to nod, murmurs of agreement swelling in volume. It was as if a spark had ignited a flame deep within the crowd. "I will help with the decorations," called out Tom, the schoolteacher with a penchant for crafts. "I'll show kids how to paint banners and signs." A cheer erupted, and it felt like a wave of energy washed over them. People were standing taller, shoulders squared, as if shedding the weight that Chuck had placed upon them. "That's right. Together we can transform this struggle into art," agreed Linda with a bright smile, her eyes shining with renewed hope. She had always believed in the power of community expression. In that moment, the crowd began to unite, their individual fears merging into a collective resolve. "Let us show Chuck that we stand as one," shouted Jenny, her voice rising with excitement. "We're not backing down. We'll gather our town's stories, talents, and dreams and share them at Rev Up Hope." The energy was palpable. Everyone around Pete was energized, rallying around a shared purpose. Laughter and excited conversations mixed with the fading light, illuminating the shadows that had loomed just moments earlier. But in the back of his mind, Pete couldn't shake a lingering sense of danger. Chuck would retaliate. He wasn't the type to sit quietly while his plans were being thwarted. The thought sent a shiver down his spine, but the hope from his community was a comfort against that chill. They were ready to fight back, standing on the foundation of their shared history. As the meeting wrapped up, plans began to take shape. People started discussing logistics, how to fundraise, create promotional materials, and bring everyone together. Ideas flowed, sparking creativity and passion. Just then, a loud clatter interrupted their excitement. An old truck, battered and rusted, pulled up beside the gathering. It belonged to Chuck. The engine's roar drowned out the laughter and conversation, stealing the joy from the evening. "There he is," someone whispered, fear creeping back into the crowd. Pete's heart raced as he saw Chuck step out, a smug grin plastered on his face. He adjusted his cap and surveyed the crowd, cocky and nonchalant. "What's this? A gathering of dreamers?" he called, his voice laced with mockery. "You really think you can take on a pro? You're in way over your heads." The festive atmosphere shifted, and worry rippled through the crowd. "Hey, Chuck," Pete shouted back, his pulse pounding in his ears. "We're not here to let you dictate our fate anymore. The people of this town deserve a chance, and we're taking it." Chuck stepped closer, a glint of amusement in his dark eyes. "You think passion can win a fight?" he taunted. "You haven't seen what I'm capable of. You're just a bunch of sentimental fools." In that instant, a hard reality settled over the crowd. The harsh wind whipped through them, as if nature itself was warning them of what was to come. And yet, despite the rising tension, Pete sensed something else in the air, the shimmering threads of courage weaving a tapestry of unity among the townsfolk. As Chuck's laughter echoed off the buildings, a promise ignited within Pete's heart. They wouldn't just stand against fear. They would rise for hope, together. But as Chuck's shadow loomed large over their small gathering, how far would they have to go to protect what they loved? With hearts pounding and revolution building within them, everyone prepared for the storm ahead, knowing the time for real change was fast approaching. What they didn't expect was the alliances they form and the level of sacrifice it might demand. Would they truly be ready for what it meant to fight for their home? The sun peeked through the clouds, painting the gray sky in soft shades of gold. The air was electric with anticipation as Pete stood at the center of the crowd, flanked by Jenny and their friends, feeling fortified by the undeniable sense of community. Chuck's taunts echoed around them, but they stood firm, resolute. "You think you can threaten us into silence, Chuck?" Pete challenged, voice steady, void of fear. "This town has a spirit born from hard work, passion, and dreams, things you can't take away." Chuck scoffed, but a flicker of unease crossed his face. He hadn't expected this. What he saw were people unified in purpose, each face reflecting determination and hope. The crowd shifted closer, sensing the tide turning. People murmured words of support, rallying behind Pete. Sarah stepped forward, her voice ringing clear. "What's at stake isn't just a truck or a garage. It's our entire way of life. Together we can fend off anyone who tries to tear that apart." Pete's heart soared. The fire had been lit, and it was spreading quickly. Cheers erupted as more and more people joined in, sharing stories of the good times, the parades, the festivals, and memories from the garage that tied them all together. But Chuck wasn't backing down. "This is just a ploy for sympathy," he sneered, his words dripping with disdain. "Those dreams will crumble without the money and resources to back them. You're living in a fantasy." A wave of doubt may have washed over some, but Pete knew they'd built a connection deeper than dollars and machinery. He stepped forward again, voice ringing with conviction. "We don't need money to support our community. We need each other. Together we can make something great." The crowd began to buzz with excitement. A few steps behind, Jenny remained steadfast, her eyes shining. She beckoned to the others, whispering ideas and alliances that began to solidify the crowd's spirit. This wasn't merely about winning a contest. It was a movement. Just then, Pete's good friend from high school, Frank, raised his hand. "Why don't we organize workshops? Let us teach kids and families how to maintain their vehicles. We can make it an annual event. Rev Up Hope could become a celebration of pride in our community." Cheers erupted again. Each name spoke of the history they all shared, each project reminding them of the roots that anchored them. The notion of transformation became palpable. It was not just for one truck but the very essence of their town. Chuck's smirk faded as eyes turned back to him, the crowd no longer intimidated. "You've got a lot of words, but no plan," he crooned, though his bravado faltered. "Yes, we do," Pete declared, heart racing. "A plan born from community. We'll launch Rev Up Hope and make it a platform for everyone to express their talents. We could transform the garage into a space that stands for all of us." More voices chimed in, ideas sparking into life. Car shows, food trucks, contest for the best restoration project. Amid the churn of excitement, an observer in the back, Mrs. Hamilton shouted, "And we need sponsors. Local businesses could get involved and benefit together." Pete felt the energy thrum through him. The clock was ticking, and they were merely hours away from the event. They had a direction now, a collective goal. Hope blossomed in their hearts, illuminating the shadow Chuck cast over them. But even as excitement surged, uncertainty nipped at the edges. "What about Chuck?" someone whispered, apprehension still lingering in the air. "Let him try," Pete said, fists clenched, bolstered by the unwavering support around him. "We'll face whatever he throws at us together." With renewed fervor, the crowd shouted back, "Together." The sense of unity transformed their fear into determination, forging ahead with a plan that now felt almost palpable. They began to break up the gathering into groups: the artists, the organizers, the mechanics, and everyone else who wanted to be a part of this change. As they split into teams, Pete locked eyes with Chuck one last time. "You can't break this," he said firmly. "We're stronger together than you could ever imagine." Chuck opened his mouth, prepared to spit another insult, but found himself momentarily speechless as he witnessed the power of community unfolding right before his eyes. Time passed quickly, and soon the sun began to set, casting the garage in hues of burnt orange and deep violet. They were still rising, ready to tackle any challenges, igniting the spark that would spread through every corner of town. That evening, in their garage, excitement filled the air as laughter and conversations swirled around them. With each plan that solidified, with each voice that joined the chorus of hope, they found strength in their number, resilience in their warmth. That as Pete stood on the threshold of the garage that had once been a source of doubt, the sense of home enveloped him. This was their moment to transform. The realization blossomed in his heart: they weren't just restoring a truck, they were reclaiming their legacy. And as the festivities of Rev Up Hope drew nearer, Pete knew in the depths of his heart that together they would build not just a future for themselves, but for generations to come. Would they weather the storm ahead? Would courage and hope stand tall against the cynicism of those who would see them fail? There was just one way to find out. That as the night settled, he felt a rush of adrenaline, excitement coursing through him. Rev Up Hope would be more than a celebration. It was a testament to the power of determination when faced with adversity. The journey had only just begun, but now, they weren't just chasing dreams, they were standing firmly in their legacy. and as dawn approached, a new chapter awaited them. So, to everyone watching this story unfold, do not wait not even one more second to support this journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these stories alive. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support for the power of community and dreams. You need to join this journey.